I've had this desk for years, and although I like the style and the practicality of it, it just doesn't make me happy. So I've decided to give it a bit of a facelift. Now I'm just going to crack on, but I'll give you tips along the way.
Remember, preparation is key. If you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. Depending on the item, you might want to use stripper to remove any paint or varnish. This desk seems to have many layers of varnish, so I've decided to sand it back. Sometimes I have to fill bits before painting as well, but that's not the case here. The filler you use will depend on the finish you've selected. Please, please, please make sure you're wearing PPE like a mask, goggles and gloves, especially if using chemicals. When you're doing this, think about the best place to carry out the work. Weather permitting, outside is best, but if you're inside, make sure there's plenty of ventilation and you're away from kids and pets, particularly if you need to sand it or use chemicals for stripping. Obviously, the temperature of the space will affect drying times.
Right, the dust is all cleared and it's ready for painting. Now the first thing I had to do for this project was decide on the finish and colour. I've actually gone for an opaque eggshell because it's not in constant use, but if you were leaning on your desk several hours a day, you might want to go for a harder wearing gloss. Now I had a good old nose at Brewers, they've got thousands of colours there, and I ended up choosing two complementing Albany Earth colours, Dove White and Bridgewater. So they're sophisticated but calming, so they should help me to focus when I'm at my desk.
Remember, you can't just use any old brush or roller as they need to be appropriate for the type of paint you're using, water-based or solvent. Don't worry if you're a novice, as there's always someone on hand in your local brewer's decorators centre to give advice. It's worth remembering that with some woods you may need a stain blocker, and if it's bare wood you'll also need a primer. You also want to make sure you have the right base coat for the finish you've chosen. I'm using a primer and undercoat in one. As mentioned, I've chosen Albany's acrylic eggshell, but there are lots of finishes available at Brewers. Whatever you're using, there will always be suggested drying times which must be adhered to. Make sure you've checked the back of your tin for the instructions and suggested overcoat interval times before you start, so you can ensure you have enough time, as you will need at least a couple of coats and to lightly sand in between.
And there you have it, job done, and my, what a facelift, even though I do say so myself.